Hello and good evening. Today we're speaking with Priyam, who is an artist mentor with us at Art1st. But what makes Priyam's experiences in conversation today different is that she works with students with learning disabilities. She works with differently abled individuals as well. And she made very interesting points when we were discussing what this could be about, or what this could potentially, this conversation could potentially turn into. So I'm looking forward to sharing Priyam's stories and her incredible outlook and all of her learnings with you as and when the audience joins in. So we're just going to wait a little bit more. And I will just add her. Oh, she sent a request. Great. And we're waiting. Hi, Priyam. Nice to see you.
Hi, thank you.
You look lovely. It's so nice to see your full face. And you framed your video very, very well. It's like you're a professional already.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to set myself so everybody can see me well. That's why.
Can you guys help us with the comments? Can you see us properly? Is the sound fine? I think I'm going to re-add her to the conversation. Hi, Priyam.
Hi.
I've just added you again. There was a bit of an error with the internet. You're still framed as gorgeous as ever. And we've got a few viewers watching, and I think I'd like to begin.
Great. Thank
First
you.
of all, how are you?
I'm good. A bit nervous, but yes, I think you're going to loosen up my nervousness.
You shouldn't be that nervous. It's not that difficult because we're talking about you. And I feel like while talking about yourself it is difficult and it has its issues. When you talk about something you're passionate about, it gets easier. And I know for a fact that you are extremely passionate about, your work and your work in Art1st. And I think the best place to start then would be your personal background. How were you maybe drawn to art? Or can you tell us a bit about your background in the arts?
Sure. So, as a kid, I was a lot inclined towards art, and that also came from my mom a bit because my mom was inclined towards art, and the creative aspect came from me, from her. And my parents always encouraged me to pursue whatever I wanted, and my inclination was always towards art, drawing, painting, enjoying and having fun with that. And they'll never told me or to stop. Why are you doing this? Why you're not pursuing something else? And then there was a time when I started growing, and I had to now decide what I need to do, graduate for. And it was arts, and I was sure for that, and I conveyed that to my parents, and they said, okay, why don't you do a little research and find it out, and then let's join you wherever you want to. So I started talking to people, understanding the different fields of art, and that's how it happened. And then I decided, hey, fine art is what I want to do. So then I got into Rachna Sansad, which is in Bombay itself, and I pursued my art career there for 4 years. And one of the interesting thing during my journey was that I wanted to pursue and enjoy public art a lot during that span of time. So I did develop myself in public art. I started working a lot in that, and I did 2, 3 projects in that too. And yes, that was one of my learnings, a great learning during my fine art studies in my college.
Lovely. So I like how art for you, especially art when it comes like public intervention and just public art that works in a public space, from your presentations and our conversations, I remember that there is a lot of introspection that is involved, because then it is your process as well as how you represent your process. And you've talked about how it's a very nervous, you get very nervous because you're literally going out into the world and, like, putting up the stickers, putting up the posters, doing all of that. So it's a very interesting, and I feel like it also represents how methodical you are as an individual. You decided you wanted to do art, you went through the researching, you wanted to do public art. That also kind of follows a very methodical approach. So I must really commend that. And for
Yes, the
those
journey.
watching, those of you who worked with Priyam, you know that she's extremely methodical and she is always on time.
Thank you. Yeah, the public art made me a lot more bold. Try to remove a lot of nervousness from that, because when you're in public spaces and doing public art, you really need to be out in public without taking permissions. It's a lot more of also illegal art what you say, because it's not with permissions at all. Because if you go and ask permissions, they're not going to allow you to do so, right? And yes, so when lately I was also talking to my team on the same, and they were like, "Hey, this is another side of you. We didn't knew about this." We were like, "You can be so bold enough and be in public also." And when I showed them the work, they were like really surprised to it.
It was a surprise, but it was a really welcoming surprise because it also gave us so much insight into you as a person. And now I'm curious then, Priyam as the artist seems to reflect the integrity and values of Priyam as a person. I'm curious then about how working in the space of public art or public art in general, how has it shaped your outlook then as an artist first and an educator, which is what you eventually, kind of you found your way into education. I'm curious.
So, when I was studying art and when I started pursuing my career in art and becoming an artist, it did broaden up my perspective a lot. Everything I see around me was art. For example, there is a bottle in front of you. I could look at it in a perspective which is art. So it's the way of seeing, the way of perceiving. And that was interesting in my whole journey of studying art. And that's how it broadened up my perspective a lot also during my public art studies, my public art projects, and public spaces. And then if I look at it, when I started, working with Art1st, I started being an educator, working in the spaces of different segments from preschool to primary. And now I focus on differently able children and spaces also. It's been interesting because how it happens is that we have to broaden the vision of the children into the creative and critical thinking, and how we look at it, how we perceive it, how we transact it, and how we motivate them. That's very important. And another what I also like to focus many times, which I also relate from my art education and also being an educator, is art of looking and observing, and also transacting the
Hmm.
same starting a process of in your journal or in your sketchbook, and do referring back to it and looking at it. Hey, how can I now perceive this? How can I transform this in a form of art, which is how I want to look at?
Hmm. I remember when we had talked about, like, we had a very casual series of questions, as you recall, at the beginning of this week. And you mentioned that, you came from the point of view that art is an experiment in futility, and it is this futility that needs to be broken. And I thought that that was quite insightful just because, the idea of futility and just the idea of being extremely tenacious. And once again, I keep coming back to how methodical and how patient you tend to be, and how that is an extremely important process, both as a person, as a creator, as an artist, an individual, and as an educator. Which brings us to my next question. Do you mind telling us a bit about the realm of education that you have worked in? What have your classes been like? And just specifically in your classes with the differently able students, how has art, or has rather, art presented itself as a tool that helps you break down barriers of communication and increase interaction and participation?
So, yes, coming to the question, so, I have worked with, Art1st has started its journey to work with differently abled, organizations, schools since more than a year now. And I focus in that, I am as an educator and a mentor where I focus in this segment. So, till now, I have worked with hearing impaired, learning disabilities, and autistic friends, and it's been an interesting journey in this whole span of time because there's so much of learning both the ways. It's not that I'm only educating them or I am training them, teaching them, taking sessions, but they also teach me so much. So,
Absolutely.
when I was taking sessions with different segments, one of the incidents I still remember is where I would focus is, the preconceived notion. We have to break the preconceived notion because, this was one of the exercises I was doing with friends. So I call the autistic children or adults as friends, and I don't want to keep saying the name autistic. So, I was taking a session with friends, and it was interesting because there was one of the friend there who said that, one of the staff came and told me that, he might not be open about using paints in his hands and fingers. He would be open about using brush. And I said, can I attempt that, and can I sit with him and make him do it and make him comfortable? And they were like, why not? But we are just, letting you know that these are the chances of he reacting and responding, which might be a little on the negative front. And
Mm.
I was like, okay, sure, I'm ready for that. And towards the end, I see that friend, he's all over the paint, his fingers, his clothes, everything is with paint. And he had such a gala time. He enjoyed making the subject which we were doing. We were working on colors in my garden. So I made them walk through the space where they are because they have beautiful nature, flowers around them. So we did a small walk. They saw their garden and they came back and they transacted using whichever medium material they wanted to. So, I did explain the staff there that, we should not be with the preconceived notion. We should surely break them, attempt it, and you see the difference and you see the change. So, yes, that journey helped me a lot to not be with the preconceived notion ever.
It
And also,
teaches you that it's quite interesting that you mentioned preconceived notions in the same space as the importance of creativity, but also there being a force that kind of motivates the creativity within the student or within the child.
yeah,
Because if there's one connection that I seem to have made when talking to all of our mentors, is that, the reiteration that it is a good educator who helps a good student. In order to be a good educator, the student, you learn from the student as much as the student learns from you.
for
But
sure.
what strikes me, like, in the conversation with you, is just about, your belief that there is creativity and everybody has, like, this huge amount of creativity within them. And sometimes, like in the case of this story that you shared, it just takes somebody to maybe, like, push the
Yeah.
student towards the goal and push the people saying no a little bit away from the students and saying give them their space
We need
because
to
it's important.
encourage, yeah, we need to encourage them, we need to motivate them because every child has an art and the creative aspect in them. How we motivate and tweak them and make them understand how they can look at it is what, as a mentor and as an educator, is our role. And that's what I was doing when I was working with them, and it was an interesting journey, and I'm still working with them, and it's been a great journey with them. They keep messaging and calling me, when are you coming back? So, and I said the lockdown has just stuck me here down because I'm in connection, with their staff and the team there. And lately,
Mm.
because I've left, this all just happened before COVID when I had to leave there, and post that, I did a lot of projects. So they are did continuing doing the same, with them. And it's interesting to see they keep WhatsApping me and sharing all the images and videos of what they do. So
You
there's
should
so
say
much.
hi to them now. When they watch this video, they'll see that you've remembered them as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll surely share with them. So some of them are here too. Some of the team is here. I think I can see some
Hello,
names.
welcome. That's so lovely. So, thank you for sharing that anecdote with us. And I'm kind of looking for one more. Um, you have very varied experiences in the field with just teaching students of all ages. You've been at Art1st for 5 years. You are, as in when anyone joins, Priyam is like the go-to person, if not just for filing, but just how things work. And I'm sure that has also been the case for you when you're in the field, because the first time you were ever entered a classroom has probably been very different from, you could probably do an online class right now, and kind of, how to go about it, because it's like, it like the back of your hand. So
Right.
when talking about, like, absolutely knowing and being completely pleasant, I was wondering if there are certain experiences from the field that you'd like to maybe bring up in today's conversation. Maybe it was a challenge that you experienced, or maybe something that you had to overcome. Was it with the help of the students that you had? How did you come about it? Anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so actually starting my journey with the differently abled children was a biggest challenge actually, because that was a big
Hmm.
leap I took for myself too, because I was coming out of my comfortable zone, I should say, because I was always with schools with grade 1 to 5 and preschoolers, and suddenly taking a leap and telling my founder Ritu, said, hey, I want to now look into the differently able space and I want to work there. And she's like, okay, why not? Let's do it, And she was always open about it and say, okay, go ahead and do it. And when I took a jump and the leap, I was like, hey, I want to do it and I will do it. I then did get a little nervous at that time, was because it was the biggest challenge, because I started studying and researching about all of them. We got an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
work with the three spaces I talked about. So out of that, one of the space I would talk about my friends, because that's my latest project which I'm doing with them.
And I
For
know you adore them. I know that Priyam absolutely adores them.
I so much follow them on Facebook all the time, because they are doing different activities, not art only, but they had a lot of other activities which keeps happening. And even their founder keeps sharing videos and images to me and say, you are also part of a family. And she's there too right now. So I just saw her. She's also part of it. So, the biggest challenge I felt was, yes, how receptive they are towards art and how open about, exploring materials, mediums, touching material, because, the kind of briefing I used to get from their team was that they are open about doing art, they're open about experimenting, exploring, but everyone is receptive. Sometimes they are not open about touching or feeling about it, And so my first journey was to keep observing them. So, I used to observe them well, I used to understand them, spend time with them, and that's how then I started planning and taking sessions, where I
Hmm.
started correlating with what they do and what they enjoy and like, making them more comfortable, because for them it was a new person entering their space, Uh, Someone
Absolutely.
they have not met, not known, So making them comfortable first, being with them, understanding them, spending time, having fun memories, fun moments, jokes, singing, dancing, all of that. And then when they got comfortable, so now whenever I reach their space and I just get out of the bus, they're like, hi Priyam, like, I know you're coming here to do art, let's do it. When are we doing it? And when I'm leaving, they don't want to leave me, so that's those are the different moments I always miss about it. But yeah, that was my biggest challenge which I felt, but I did overcome. When I started becoming comfortable with them, they became comfortable. I started tweaking projects where I used to start looking and understanding of the different approaches, where they are, these friends of every segment, they do
Mm-hmm.
focus on different things and activities in their daily routine life, where they understand about values. They do a lot of indoor outdoor stuff and a lot more, and understanding all of that, I started making art with that, because there was a good correlation and an understanding which started building with them. And based on
Hmm.
that, I could see, because I saw the friends started talking, they started sharing stories during the art sessions which never happened, because they could relate, they could understand that this is some connection of their daily routine, what they do at the center. And that was
Hmm.
one of the achievement I felt in that process, is because I saw them talking, saw them sharing. Even their staff was surprised, because they were talking about their artwork, they were sharing their thoughts there, So yeah, it was an interesting journey, and I was like, wow, this is how I started working and progressing with my projects and working with them.
Hmm. I like how you implied that art is what you know. It doesn't have to be always like, something magnificent or something large or something vast. Even if it comes from a very genuine space that you're willing to kind of, patiently explore
Yeah,
and just be very tenacious and constantly have your focus there, I think nothing is undoable.
yeah. So
Which brings
another
us to the last. Sorry, go on.
So just one addition I would like to add on
Of
is here
course.
also that also trying to understand the kind of material they started becoming comfortable to, because towards the start I did keep a lot more open-ended to explore and understand how they are comfortable with the different kind of materials. But slowly when I started focusing on one at a time, I started understanding how different friends were responding towards different material, and that's how also helped me to build on the projects, build on the connections and the tuning with them. So that's also one of the important aspect. I feel that observation, you need to be observing them, building a connection, understanding them very well, based on which it just goes, everything goes smooth, then you don't have any hindrance at all.
You mentioned earlier in our conversation that art has a lot to do with looking and observing.
Yes.
And I like how that it's a very core belief, not just, in your case, especially to being an artist or an educator or just somebody that works. But it seems to be like one of the, it seems to be the essence that, no, fuels your philosophy and kind of fuels your own ethic. Which brings us to the next question, which is our last question. And I'm very
Okay.
curious to see what you would like to see and observe if you had all the resources in the world. What would your dream art space look like?
Oh, that's a very good question. Because lately, because the journey and the kind of schools we have in India, especially sometimes maybe I can say Bombay, they are so, like, they don't have space for children to move around, open up. And that's why I always keep saying to myself that I hope there was a school which had open walls, like no walls, actually, I should say, like walls without, you know. And then also a space where there was a lot of tactile, experiential, exploratory space. I would just imagine that the space had huge canvases, paper rolls, blackboards all across the open spaces I'm talking about. And child could just come and hop in any time in any of the space and explore with the material. And also, yeah, another thing is the space has to be in between the greens, the nature, because that motivates them a lot.
Mm.
And this is, yeah,
If
this
you
is
could, sorry, go on.
say, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say something silly like, would you consider a swimming pool filled with all the colors of the rainbow? Because
Yeah,
I asked you that opportunities are endless. I feel like whatever I say, you're going to say, yeah, yeah, let's have that as well.
yeah, like as an educator and being an art educator, we've always been open about to explore as much as possible, just to have fun. Because in the process of fun, there's so much of learning also going back. It's also about the
Mm-hmm.
realization, and how do you realize, how do you observe, and how do you perceive it. So it's all connected and interconnected with each other. But yeah, why not just also be in the pool of colors, and you will surely learn a lot. You might just start finding uh like amoeba kind of creatures in that water, and you could start identifying, hey, it's a fish, hey, that's a bottle floating there, and that's a pink color
You
bottle. So
can
you can
create
just,
your
yeah,
own. You can create your own world completely. That's lovely.
yeah. As I said, art is everywhere. An object you see, how you look at it, you can surely say, hey, this is art for me. So why not?
I don't feel like I should say anything else because you have closed it so well. So I'm just going to say thank you so much, Priyam, for speaking with me today. Thank you for some very, very insightful stories and anecdotes, especially the last line that you just said. My gosh, that was incredible. And thank you to all of our viewers for staying with us till the very end. We will see you all next week when I speak with the Art is a Verb designer, the award winning Art is a Verb designer, Rohina, who is also the lead designer here at Art1st. Priyam, there seems to be one question. Let me see if I can access it.
Sure. And thank you so much,
It's
Wynona, for
some.
giving me time.
Oh, you're welcome. It's from a viewer, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 smiley faces and one smiley face with heart eyes.
Oh, okay. Who's this?
It was a viewer named Yashmi K.
Oh, okay. Yashmi.
So
Okay.
thank you, Yashmi, for the for the hearts and the love and the appreciation, and thank you all of us for sticking around. Priyam, I will see you soon. Have a nice
Yes.
weekend, everyone. Bye
Thank you
bye.
everyone for coming and joining for this talk. And thank you, Wynona, again.
No worries.
Bye. See
See
ya.
you.
Bye.